All right. Welcome to Ladies of Fandom, part of the Fanboy TV block party live for this week. Um, Today we're going to be talking about some pretty fun things. We had some pretty exciting events happen over the weekend, including my birthday if you were paying attention to Facebook. If not, don't worry, I kind of kept it on the down low. But today we're going to talk about RPGs. We got Tess to play some for actual work. So, moving on, let's roll the swim credits. So, first off, I really want to say thank you to my entire cast and crew. They managed to pull off what I didn't think was kind of possible. They threw me a surprise party. One of the things I got, and Tessa is amazing, she's got a 5-year art degree, is this little necklace. Let's see if we can get... Nice little shrinky dink. Ladies of Fandom, it's got our logo on it. There we go.
Kind of 5-year art degree, make shrinky dinks. Oh,
man. Is wonderful. One of the best gifts I've ever been given. It's nice, personalized. But another thing that we did over the weekend that kind of contributes to this necklace, they threw me a surprise party. And one of the things I love doing, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this episode so close to my birthday, is I like playing role-playing games. I am the biggest role player I know, maybe with a couple of exceptions. Character creation is one of my favorite pastimes. I love telling stories. It's one of my hobbies. So for my birthday, we went out and played a Savage Worlds game set in the superpower setting, which doesn't have an official setting outside of Necessary Evil, but that's neither here nor there. But that also gave Tess an excuse to play video games, or not video games,
We've done
paper
that.
games. We play video games for work too. Play some board games and some pen and paper games for work as well. We played a little bit of Fall of Magic, which was
super fun,
pretty fun,
into it,
and hilarious. I wish I could have come up with a slide that involved Uranger, but I couldn't make it fit. I'm like, no.
Oh, that's all right.
And you also got to play in the Powers campaign as part of my birthday party. So, did you have fun? First and foremost.
Oh yeah. Most of my RPG gaming is mostly video games and online RPGs. Like in college, I logged so many hours on this one game called Conquer Online because I was in college and it was a free online game, and I ended up being like a level 187 reborn Trojan water mage or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, I logged a lot of hours on that one. And then I also played Risk Your Life, Silk Road. So mostly like online stuff. I've dated my fair share of Dungeon Masters, but I hadn't really played much D&D. Mm-hmm. So this was kind of new for me. I had an older brother and he would play them. But again, I was too young, to be able to play that. So yeah, I had a blast. Fall of Magic was awesome. I was a little tentative at first, like apprehensive. Like it's basically storytelling. We have this awesome scroll. We posted video of it on our Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. Check out pictures. They got like cool like metal coins that came with them.
Yeah.
So that was super rad. I really kind of liked how it was just kind of lightly graphed out, and you kind of just filled it in from there.
Yeah, it's very freeform.
Yeah.
It's the most freeform storytelling game that still has some kind of direction. But it's truly what you make of it and where you take it, and that's what I love about Fall of Magic, and that's why I brought it.
Even as
Alyssa
someone
the one who ran it.
Even as someone who was
Well, it's also GM-less.
watching from the outside, it was entertaining to watch all of you.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and as Courtney said, I ran it, but it was more of a formality of I know more about this game, and we were trying to fast track a little bit, so we get a full taste of it. But it is a GM-less and effectively diceless game, so it's very free-flowing and loose, and you can literally take it any which way. Obviously, the basis of Fall of Magic is magic is dying, and so is the Magus. And magic and the Magus are what you make of them. So magic could actually be science in this game if you take it there.
So Flight of Dragons.
Could be.
Into it.
Yeah. What made this all the more fun is that Alyssa and I are very dramatic role players.
Yes.
We kind of use roleplay as, at least I do, I use roleplay as therapy, essentially, to kind of...
I actually want to touch on that later.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But Tessa, who's never played any sort of tabletop role playing where you are coming up with a character pretty much on the fly in this case, came up with an incredibly hilarious and incredibly necessary character in the wood bringer.
Oh yeah, we Fall of Magic. You have a set list of names to choose from, and then a set list of
origins, and each origin has 3 professions.
Yeah.
Effectively.
So
you just go down the list. You pick 3 things. That's your character. So what those mean, like everything else in that game, is up to you. And what Tessa made turned out very interesting.
I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, so I made my character whose name was, I think, supposed to be River, but her name was River, and instead of a ranger, she was a ranger, and she was a person who rings bells. Her profession, she's kind of like a bard, and she just carried bells around. She'd bell large predatory cats, because who wants to get snuck up by a lion in a menagerie? Or, she'd go to weddings, because wedding bells. I was hoping we would get an encounter so I could have sleigh bells, or even an encounter with some slavers, so I could have Liberty Bells, but that never came up, so some lost opportunities there.
But, I mean, we were also playing, trying to play Fall of Magic, which is a long-form game in about 4 hours, so...
Well, we were playing it, what, in 2 hours? It's like
we played, with goofing around.
We condensed it. We condensed it.
In less than 2 hours, and from what I've heard, on average, Fall of Magic takes... in the full long form, about 10 hours.
Wow.
I have played it successfully start to finish with very little cut out in 4 hours. But that's also, being very quick and not pushing hard time limits, but, setting gentle encouragements of time limits.
You have a timer and you're just staring at the person and be like, come on, wrap it up already.
Especially because they're all strangers that you've never met at a convention.
Yeah.
But
no chess timer is involved here. And another thing that we played was a power setting that Chris and I are working on for Savage Worlds. It's not official. We're just kind of throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. And Tessa got to play... what was your character?
I was a female samurai with lightning powers. That's pretty cool.
That one was pretty fun as well. What did you think of that experience?
Well, that was super fun. Like I said, I hadn't played that kind of game. I just came in late.
Yeah.
To the game, and they're just like, here's a sheet. What do you want to be? Do you want to be this character, or that one? I was like, that one. Let's do this.
It was definitely a more chaotic form of that game because, usually game groups are, 4 or 5 players and then the game master. Where we had 8 players.
8 players plus Chris, who had to put up with all 8 of us.
Yes.
What he did is he had 4 of our veteran players play heroes, with the exception of you playing...
just how it's split.
Yeah, how it's split. Playing sidekick type characters, and things just got fun. I wish we could have played a little bit longer because things were pretty awesome.
So, if you were to suggest a game for somebody who is new to tabletop RPGs, what would be entry level? This is what you should start with, easy.
Probably D&D.
I actually think D&D 5th edition is a really good introduction. It depends on who you play with.
All right.
And I suggest if you get in, also because it's very accessible. There is the Adventurers League, and that's official. Everything's documented. And you find a lot of good people there. Well, you're probably going to find some not so great people too, but that's every group. So the one thing I'd say for new people, no matter what you pick, if you don't like it right off the bat, maybe try another group.
Yeah.
Because you just might not like the first group's play style. There are some people who like to play more based on numbers, and there are some people who like to play more based on
actual character
actions and social interactions, and narration of what you're doing rather than I rolled a 16, did I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's I go to swing this and do and I missed.
I just need something simple as just a die that's like either you succeed or you don't succeed instead of like checking a chart with numbers. And I'm just like, I can't math right now.
Most of the time, the GM is doing the math.
Okay.
Or you can ask, and no one should ever be angry with you for asking. I mean, there are times where if I haven't played 5th edition for a while, I go to a convention, I'm in an intermediate 5th edition game, and I'm like, wait, what bonus do I add to that?
Veteran players will ask, how do you do this again? Because we haven't used it in so long.
Not everyone can remember everything all at once.
Yeah.
Because most of us know more than one system as well.
What so you say like if you play with like a group of people and maybe their play style's not so great. What are some serious don'ts? Like that are obnoxious,
there's a
like
lot.
pet peeves. I want to hear the pet peeves and the do's and the don'ts.
One of the biggest don'ts is that if a player is uncomfortable with something, make sure the player is just going to be okay, or if something needs to stop.
Well, emotional safety is way more important than any game.
Yeah.
And there's a blurb about that actually in Fall of Magic because it can turn into a heavy game. Most, like D&D games, it can be a run hack slash and it can be fun, but it can also get very intense and heavy. And like Courtney said, emotional safety is important. And even if it's just a mention, having a list of table no-nos, discussing that, making a social contract effectively. Like, if someone's not going to be okay with PvP, don't bring it up.
So,
and if there are certain triggers that people have, you need to know.
I've got a big one.
The GM needs to know before, and they might be really specific. With my players, I have a really specific list of a couple things that are never gonna come up, or if it's gonna come up, and I can't avoid it with the module or whatever. Usually, I'll just write it out. But if for some reason it needs to happen, you just make it very vague and fade to black. Okay. You don't push players. I think that's the one absolute no-no.
Okay.
Also, I have one myself.
Well,
because it stems back to a Star Wars campaign I ran. Basically, if you're a DM, it's okay to say no, and it's okay to say, you know what, you're causing problems for everybody else. Yeah. You need to leave.
Yeah. That's actually something that
players who take advantage of other players.
Yeah. You'll hear. Oftentimes, you'll see somebody give bad GM advice of saying, "Don't say no." That advice is BS.
It's
say
like
no
herding
if it's
cats.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to tell the cat, no, you're going to stay in that corner because you can't be nice to the other cats.
Yeah. And you might have to physically or
hopefully not physically remove someone.
Metaphorically put a hard barrier down.
Yeah.
On that. Another thing that's good advice, you're obviously going to have some very different player dynamics. Pay attention to that. Like, have a couple of just social nights before running a game and see how the players play together. Like Alyssa and I, no matter what we do, we always seem to make the characters that play very well together.
Right? Even if we've never talked, we come into a campaign and we're like, oh, wow, these are the perfect pair for combat, or these are the perfect pair for, this mission.
So even
it somehow works out.
Yeah.
Even if you do, like, get a group of people and you just maybe do some, like, team building exercise. I mean, you find that a lot of people will play a character that's totally different from their personality, so you'll get into that even though you've hung out beforehand. The character type they play might not be like them.
Not necessarily. I mean, everyone has their favorite character, of course, and it's usually what they want to be. That might be close to what they are as a person, or it might not. I like to play the big damage dealing front lines, I'm gonna smash it till it's dead character.
Yeah.
But as a player, I make an effort to play a variety, so I can, because playing one type of character all the time, you don't have the perspective. So you might play the barbarian and you think bards are dumb. Maybe try playing a bard.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up this.
Or you might even bring in a fresh new perspective to a bard and be like, hey.
Right.
And make people think, hey, I never really thought about that.
Right.
Yeah. But going back to the therapy point too, there is one character I'm currently playing just to kind of explore a couple of interesting concepts to me. Saruman is my drow paladin, and he is completely opposite from anything I normally play.
What's a drow?
Drow is a dark elf. Lore-wise, they're incredibly matriarchal to the point of if social justice warriors that are the bad type existed in D&D lore, they'd be the one that going.
And they lived underground.
Yeah,
it's dark elves.
Dark elves. But he himself is exploring some pretty interesting concepts about death and spirituality and memory that I find fun.
Like Courtney's saying, it can be a way to explore, something that you're not quite figuring out, rather than stumbling through it in real life and having real life consequences. You can go through it in a game, and that can be very therapeutic for some people. It can also be a way to explore facets of your personality and, kind of build yourself as a better person. And there are some games that I know are suggested specifically as therapy games. And of course, this requires a very safe space and some very understanding people.
What are those games called?
The one I'm thinking of right now, so Follow Magic can be one because it is what you make it. I've seen it used for that before. But the one that's coming to mind is, I've not personally played it because it can get so heavy, and I was not prepared for that at the time I could have played it. It was called, I believe, My Life with Master.
Yeah.
So it's not what it sounds like.
I was gonna say, that sounds a little kinky.
I was gonna say it's not some 50 Shades stuff.
Okay.
It's actually you are playing the henchman to basically a Frankenstein type figure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
so
playing
a Dr.
Igor.
Frankenstein type figure. So you're like the Igor to Frankenstein, and so you live kind of between the world of monstrosities and the world of humanity, and basically, I think in that one you have very limited stats in this as well. So you have few numbers that you have to deal with, and every situation you encounter can push your balance one way or the other. So it's the torn of, you want to please the master, but you want to retain some humanity or something about the world of true humanity is drawing to you. Obviously, the classic example being a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
But it can be anything. Like, pastries are delicious, I think is probably mine.
You want to keep your humanity so you can eat pastries?
Duh.
Yeah.
So monsters can't eat pastries, is what you're telling me?
Yeah.
I've
Except that ogres like licorice.
Right, obviously. We've established this. Everyone knows ogres like licorice. But, what else was gonna bring up now? I've been thrown.
I'm going to throw something out there because I just realized this earlier today. Sometimes there are characters you create that will creep into your everyday life.
Yes.
That you don't even realize.
Is this like Page Master?
A little bit.
Sort of, a little bit.
A little, yeah.
I created a character that I rarely get to play because we don't play this campaign very often. But his name is Clay.
I was like, wait, which one's this about?
This one. He's an incredibly just strong, stoic, silent type, but kind of incredibly protective. And earlier today, as I was brushing my hair, I kind of realized that after creating him, I kind of drifted into his haircut. Just like
that. Well, and the flip side, the corresponding character that I have is Zero, who actually I created kind of as the therapeutic character. Incidentally, at a convention, it just happened, and they're lovers. Let's be honest, they're lovers.
Like I said, we play really well together.
We had established, like, there's all this background information, and it creeps up on you unexpectedly because we'd established that they dance together. Because they both have.
Please tell me there's video of you guys actually dancing somewhere.
Yes.
No,
there's
what?
not.
No.
Yet.
Ruin our dreams.
So, a song that Courtney quite likes came on the radio, and it immediately sparked in my brain, I can see Clay and Z dancing to this.
Because they're both
It's
incredibly
Despacito,
agile.
by the by.
The good version, not the one with
the
Mr.
good one.
B.
It's not the worst, but
The full Spanish version is better. But moving on to that, it's just, you find surprising things. Like, you've had characters that have snuck up on you in the past because you also roleplay.
Well, here's the
Let's not
thing.
forget it.
Here's the thing with me.
here we
I
go.
have folders upon folders upon folders upon folders of characters that I have created. None of them are used. Not a single one.
You need to
I've
get
been
that folder out and just be like,
yeah,
play.
Here, character. Y'all are good.
and you get a character, and you get a character. Sorry.
Good role. You'll find that a lot of the hardcore role players will have that, because I have, dating back since high school, I've always role played in some way, shape, or form. I'm just brand new, relatively speaking, to the world of actual diced pen and paper games.
What I think most of us actually are, or that, we have all these characters waiting in the wings. I have a whole binder. Fortunately, because I run games at conventions, a lot of them do get played, and that's nice. But getting into it, since we talked about new people towards the beginning of this, getting into it can be hard because it seems intimidating. I just had someone come talk to me the other day, like, well, I want to try it, but I just feel like I'm too late to the game. Like, you're never too late.
I know people who are in their 60s, 70s who professionally run D&D games for people.
Okay, one of my friends, his mom and a bunch of his friends, she works for Steve Jackson Games, and she's had a 30-year D&D group. Yep. They've been getting together for 30 years.
You will have groups that, you'll cycle through characters and things like that, and you'll go through a bunch of cycles. In fact, Dragonlance Chronicles started as a D&D campaign back in first, second edition, and Dragonlance Chronicles is one of the biggest ones. We also have the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which, for all its flaws, was actually kind of, you can get that level of camp in, sorry, I'm hitting the table with my ring. You can get that level of camp in games, too.
Yes.
There's no, role-playing is what you make of it, essentially. Right.
I'm starting to create, I'm literally to the point where I start creating costumes for my characters now. That point.
That can happen. Two of my characters, I go to Ren fairs as.
You just wake up one morning and you have the costumes, like, it happens!
Yes. That's how it occurs. Yes. You just mystically wake up.
And there they are.
And it's on your body and you're like, I guess this is who I am today.
Hey, sometimes that's what it takes for me to get through the day.
Yeah. So it can also be helpful that you can... It's another thing to think about. So rather than stressing about work or blah, 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 you can be like, oh, what's my ranger my ranger doing this weekend? Like, what am I going to do in this game? So it's another place for your brain to go.
Probably pronunciating things wrong.
Yeah.
So we talked about easy games to get into. What is probably one of the harder games that are just most ridiculous rules? As far as you're like, this is...
We have some thoughts. We're not talking about that one, Courtney.
No, I want to hear. She's about ready to explode.
So, I'm just going to say the one game I don't recommend for brand new players is the original Rift system.
Oh my god.
No, we're not talking about it.
I have more words on the subject that I'm not going to get into, but it is the one game that I walked away from.
I was a part of that game.
Yes, you were.
So difficult?
It's not very...
It's not very new. It's not very new player friendly.
It's not very player friendly at all.
But
so if I see it at a party, I turn on my heel and just go, nope, bye.
Okay, Tessa, it's made by people who used to work in the military.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just because we have several this happened. It just didn't work out to be terribly
they get kind of
coherent and easy to understand. There's a lot of different things about it. The book isn't laid out extremely well.
So what I was saying is just asking, which it's not very accessible.
It's not accessible.
A lot of older games like that were not very player friendly, much less new player friendly. Yeah. I very unfortunately cannot say good things about a game that I tried for the first time at this past ChupacabraCon, Labyrinth Lords. It's just unnecessarily confusing. Some things you want to roll high, some things you want to roll low. And I'm sure if I sat down and really went through it, it makes sense, but it's just not a good place to start.
I will say, Alyssa, though, I thought the same thing about Edge of the Empire until I started sitting in on your campaigns. I'm like, this is starting to make sense.
I think that's all we have to say is...
we do have to wrap this up soon.
If in doubt, give it a try.
Give it a try. Feel free to contact us, because 3 out of the 4 of us are veteran players, and if there's a new player question, we can always refer you to Tessa, because we're definitely going to be playing more games with her in the future. Yeah. That being said, next week we do have a guest. I didn't get the chance to put her name on because I just confirmed her. Today we are going to have Sheena Vandevanter. And unfortunately, we're not going to have Tessa next week because you're going to be...
I'm going to be hosting a table at Thinkery 21 events.
Yeah, Thinkery 21.
So, yeah.
The World's Awesome.
Going to be August 24th. Yes.
I keep saying next week. That's just because it's in my brain. So look forward to the next time we're on. Definitely stay tuned for Comic Creations right after us with our cameraman Lance and Chris Glover and Jeffrey Lord, our social media director.
Hopefully Jeffrey doesn't burn himself this time.
Hopefully
Or
not.
cover himself in chocolate syrup, but who knows?
And after that, we do unfortunately have a rerun of Zombie Life TV. We wish Eddie all the best of luck in what he's currently dealing with. Just a bunch of life stuff that's neither
Life
here nor there.
happens.
Life happened, and unfortunately the show had to put pause for the second. That being said, this is Ladies of Fandom. Don't forget to watch us on our website. We're going to have a couple of things coming up soon. I can't wait to introduce you to that. But that being said, good night for now.
Good night.
Whee!